Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Unstoppable REI. I'm here with my man Ben Lovero. Now, and I got that correct. Did I get it right on the first
Yeah,
time, Ben?
man.
Okay, cool, man. I always make sure I get people's names. I got one of those names that Thibodeau, if you look at the way that it's spelled, I mean, so it's French
Yeah.
name. If you're not from New Orleans, my name's getting chopped up typically. So I always like to make sure get everybody's name correct. So put some
What's up,
respect
man?
behind that. You know what I mean? So,
Absolutely.
all right, cool, man. So let's get into it, man. Tell me, I mean, I know we tried to hook up before. I'm glad we're able to do this now. Tell me a little bit about who you are, what you do, and kind of what's your 30-second elevator pitch? What do you guys do over there?
Yeah, man. So Ben Lovero, founder of Investor Syndicate. We are a real estate learning and educational community where
Okay.
we focus on empowering real estate investors and entrepreneurs with the tools that they need to scale.
Okay.
So we have a community and live coaching and mastermind calls once a week, but we also
Okay.
have a plethora of different training courses inside of the Investor Syndicate training vault.
Okay.
Goal is just to train, equip, and empower real estate investors so that they can get on the fast track.
So investor syndicate, man. So when I think of syndicate, I think of the mafia or something like, underground. I mean, so how does that tie into what you're doing? Why that word in particular? What's that about?
Good question, man. I think a syndicate kind of like, community,
Okay.
mafia. It's kind of almost got like a
Yeah,
hard type of
sure.
feeling to
It's
it, right?
hardcore. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. You see some of these different real estate training groups, right? Like Capital Cartel
Yeah.
or,
Okay.
something syndicate, wholesaling syndicate or
Yeah.
whatever. And really the vision behind it was we wanted to curate a community where investors can come together, talk shop,
Yeah.
network with high net worth individuals,
Okay.
also get in the game and learn at whatever level they're coming in.
Sure.
And initially, we have some crypto products that we included in the bundles as well. And
Okay.
when we first launched, we invested a little bit of time in building those, right? Like I came up in the real estate space. I'd say
Okay.
that's my expertise.
Yeah, yeah.
And just had I'd say some early but lucky wins in crypto, which is
Okay.
great, right? But
Sure.
we're kind of out of that unicorn season. But big vision, which I don't feel like Investor Syndicate has fully flourished yet.
Okay.
We would like to have an organization, a community where people can come in and learn like different type of investing techniques,
Got
right?
it. Okay.
Obviously, real estate's my expertise, but I envision having, panels of different moderators and experts in their own fields.
Sure.
So you can just bring the whole network together and help people grow.
I like it. So, yeah, because that syndicate, it's a cool word, man, because it's kind of like family. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know what I mean? So tell me, man, what is something that you wish you would have known earlier in your career? I mean, something that you wish you would have known when you started.
Ooh,
Tough
man.
question. I'm hitting you with the tough questions. I'm telling
Yeah,
you
I've
right
never
now.
been asked that. I
Okay.
really like that question a lot. What is something I wish I would have known? Um, I would say the value of strategic partnerships and relationships.
Okay.
The reason that I say that is when I first started, right, I got a couple like good buddies and mentors that helped me get in the game and learn
Yeah.
some pretty cool like underground strategies.
Okay.
And at that point, I wanted to like keep the information for myself, right? I'm like, well, if I told everyone else in my same network
Right.
what's working, then it's going
Create
to create more
competition.
competition,
Right,
right?
right,
That's the
right.
way that I used to think.
Yeah.
And then, bring that over the past 5-6 years and just seeing my progression as an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
right? But also seeing the power of partnerships, the power of strategic
Totally.
relationships. The way that I view it is completely different, right?
Sure.
Like on the buy and hold side, I have partners, right?
Mm.
Because I'm an entrepreneur. We
Yeah.
could, acquire properties. I have several rentals that we just own ourselves,
Okay.
or I own myself, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I realize if we want to scale, I got to have like experts in their own field. So we
Yeah.
got a financial analyst,
Okay.
right? Who's like high level stuff. But
Okay.
I realized that partnerships make the world go round, right? Like
Totally.
strategic partnerships, but you have to be smart at how you approach it.
Totally. No, and you know what's cool about that? That's sort of the difference between kind of having an abundance mentality and a sort of a poverty mentality because
Yes.
with abundance it's like whatever like you can make in order if you were going to make as much as you wanted to make, that's not affecting somebody else's ability to make as much as they want to make because it's like it's enough for everybody.
Yeah.
And that makes a big difference, I think, in terms of you being able to grow and connect. Because, like you said, you don't know everything yourself, and and you're really only as smart as the guys that you have around you. So if you're the smartest guy in the room, I mean, you got to go to another room, right? I
Yeah.
mean, so
Yes.
so yeah, I like that, man. So here's another tough question. What would you say? And I know that people view failure as sort of, it's not failing, it's learning, and I get that. But what is maybe the biggest failure that you've had, and what did you learn from that?
Ooh.
I'm telling you, I'm coming strong. I'm telling you right now.
All right. So are we saying failures in life in general or
I was as
failures
an
in business?
entrepreneur. Yeah,
Well, I do view failure as a pathway to success,
totally. And I
right?
get that.
If you're
Yeah.
not if you're not failing, you're probably not
You're not doing
stretching
anything.
yourself to grow enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great things happen on the edge of your comfort zone.
Totally.
The biggest, I don't know if I'd say it's a failure,
Okay.
but the biggest challenge
Yeah, there you go.
burden that I have had to carry in this journey of entrepreneurship, man, is it's one of the first houses that we did.
Hmm.
We bought a really, really just low end, cheap house for cash. It was an REO auction
Okay.
property,
All
and it was
right.
out of state, right? One of my first mentors was an out of state guy that
Okay.
bought a bunch of properties and he would sell or finance them out, right? Not
Nice.
put
Okay.
much work into it.
Yeah, yeah.
So, man, we had this really cheap property that I marketed on Craigslist and seller finance to a buyer, quote unquote,
Okay.
tenant buyer.
Yeah.
And long story short, there was a lawsuit that resulted of it
Wow.
that really, really got me in the weeds, man. And because it was like
Mm.
out of state and different things going on,
Yeah, made it
uh,
more complicated.
it was a federal suit, right? It was happening at a federal level.
Wow.
Which, whoa, yeah, it was big time, man. It was terrifying, right? I lost a
Man.
lot of faith in the system, right?
Okay.
Because it's not always what's right or what's actually transpired, but it's what's seen in black and white, right?
Okay.
And it
Sure.
really broke down to the fact that I didn't hand a guy a lead-based paint disclosure. I
And it
didn't
came
know.
became federal behind that.
Yeah, yeah, I didn't know,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
in the law, right? And this is something that a lot of the gurus don't talk about or teach, but in the law, right, it's written that any property that's built before 1978
78. Sure.
required to give them a lead-based paint disclosure. And
Okay.
if you don't, you didn't provide them with the proper disclosures when selling a house,
Okay.
right? I can guarantee you almost every single seasoned investor that you talk to right now, if they're
Yeah.
wholesaling a contract or anything else,
They don't do that.
they're not doing it. People don't know
No.
it, right? And
No.
it's
No.
not a problem until it is, right?
Yeah.
So that was a
Big
big,
learning experience, huh?
big deal. I
Yeah.
I also had to answer to the EPA in that season as
That
well.
was huge. But to your point, you're not, first of all, I don't think that you can grow unless you're uncomfortable. And that's where the
Yes,
growth happens. And those lessons, and I think you learn more from the failures or the challenges than you do from the successes.
you
I mean, you know what I
absolutely
mean?
do.
So
Yeah,
it's painful. It's painful. And I always tell my kids, they're all grown now. I got 4 kids, 2 girls, 2 boys. I used to tell them, you'll either learn 2 ways from my advice, not just my advice, but advice in general. Learn from advice, or you're going to learn from experience. They're both going to teach you, but one's more painful than the other. You know what I mean?
yes.
So it's like try to get the advice if possible, but if you can't, sometimes just get hit and boom, you got to deal with it. So that's what it is. So somebody's out there listening, they want to become you. They want to become an investor, start another family syndicate, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
What advice would you give them? They're just getting started out. Just what advice would you give them?
I would say know where you want to go before asking for directions, right?
Wow,
So
that's serious.
before, taking one of these local investors or,
Yeah,
mentors, people that you seek to emulate and you like to do what they're doing,
yeah.
do your research, right?
Okay.
Figure out what are they doing? Is this something that I'm interested in? And if so, how can I have enough knowledge, right? Enough foresight before I
Yeah,
even like link up with this person, right? So I kind of got like two-sided answer to that, right?
yeah,
So know where you want to go, but then find a mentor, right? Or find people in your local network or people that
yeah,
are already achieving the results that you are seeking,
yeah.
right? And by doing that, I guarantee you most of these people are going to be willing to share
Oh,
the knowledge
sure.
that they have, right? And
Yeah,
give it freely, but they're going to always be watching, right? So you don't want to just like invite somebody to lunch and
yeah.
then consume their whole time because time is the
Oh,
most valuable commodity, right?
absolutely right.
and you don't want to go into this lunch meeting or reaching out to somebody that's already where you want to be and
Yeah.
just ask questions and consume as much information as possible to store up in your little box and go do your own thing. You
Right.
want to always be thinking value, right? How
Yeah.
can I add value to what this person is already doing, right? And they're going to see that, right?
Yeah.
So that's my best advice. Find out where you want to go,
Yeah.
and then find somebody that's doing what you want to do and add value to them.
That's very, very smart because you're right. People will want to help you, but they appreciate you valuing their time. And I think the best thing you can do, you tell me about this, the best way you can repay me as an example for asking for my time is act on what I'm telling you to act on. I mean, so if I give you advice, the person comes back to boom, I just ordered that book, I read it, it's great. Here's to learn from. I'm like, oh
Yes.
yeah, sure. Well, let's talk again. Here's the next step. So that's great. So what are some of the resources that have helped you? Like if you had to name like the top three resources that have helped you along the way, what would it be?
It's a good question. I'd say the first informational educational resource that helped me kind of kick it into gear um, was I bought Sean Terry's like
Sean
Flip to
Terry.
Freedom course,
Yeah.
and it was on Black Friday, oddly enough, right? It was a
Oh,
Black
really?
Friday
Nice.
sale.
Okay.
I think I paid like $1,000 and I got like all, five
Everything.
courses or something.
Okay.
And I just devoured through those, right? So that gave me
Yeah.
the information and the leg up. Um, addition to that, I would say if you want to build consistency in the business, you got to have like a system, right?
Okay.
Because like you can learn how to market and learn how to
Yeah.
cold call and text and everything else.
Yeah.
But you don't have like a CRM or a system that you can build the foundation of your business on,
Sure.
then you're never really going to build that predictability, right?
Gotcha.
And that's something that I've gone through like 5 different CRMs. Like
Okay.
literally, I've gone through a lot of different ones, and every single one of them, had value and benefits, but none of them really like filled in the gap and provided everything that I needed on the back end for a tool. And that kind of forced us into having to build one in-house, right? We,
Okay.
we used a different software to scale the system on it.
Yeah.
Um, go high level, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we built that in-house that solved a need and filled a gap inside of our own business. And then in turn, we turned around and offered that to the marketplace as well.
I
Right. So
love
like,
that. Yeah. That's great. You know what's cool about that is that that's really how things are created and birthed and invented. It's like you see a problem, you solve. It's like if there's a problem for me, it's probably going to be an issue for somebody else, and boom, you can capitalize on it. Which is
yes.
great. Okay. So speaking of resources, tell me let's talk about mentors. So who maybe were your top, maybe three people that influence you the most? It could be business, could be life, entrepreneurship, just in general. Three of your top most influential people in your life.
I would say in the real estate space,
Yeah.
investing, Kent Clothier was a pretty impactful person,
Okay.
individual, that I've watched and,
Yeah.
emulated and joined some of his groups and networks. Just his wealth of knowledge, man, and his approach at education and helping investors grow. It's incredible. I find a lot of mentors inside of like books. I consider the
Yeah.
books I read kind of mentors, and it's really
Sure.
hard to tie that into like one pivotal person or book.
Sure. Well, just a
But
few. I mean, name a few that have
um,
been, that you really
I
like that helps you out a lot.
say like Jesus, right?
Of
Just
course.
leading by um, example and foundational principles, and just things that you read in the Bible that you realize kind of tie into just growth, success principles,
Sure.
and leadership in general.
Yeah.
And it really kind of like it can cross into entrepreneurship in many different ways. So I'd say
Totally.
that's definitely one.
And one
Um,
more.
and then one more,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, dang, that's a hard one because there's so many.
Yeah.
I mean, Tony Robbins, when it comes to like leadership and
Yeah.
just life change, right?
Totally.
Mindset shift. Ed Milet's a really big mentor from a distance in my life, right? And that's their next level, right? That's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
like
Totally.
business or not just real estate stuff, but it's more like how do you unlock the next level mindset, right? To make that
Sure.
shift to really step into your greatest self. Because
That's
when you
great.
look at it,
Yeah.
like business can all be replicated and reproduced, and there's
Yeah,
already models out there that you can learn how to do it
you
and you
sure?
can implement and build it. But if you don't have the winning mentality and the right mindset,
Yeah,
you're never going to step into your greatest self, right? So I feel like the one of the most important things and things that I look up to these people for is the belief, right? Belief that something is possible and
yeah.
something can be yours, right? And the scripture says, if you believe something in your heart, right,
Yeah,
it's already yours. Like it's true, but you just got to believe.
gotta believe it. You know what I really love about that is, and I love Tony Robbins too, and all the people that you named. Is that the idea? It's almost like, and I love the phrase that you use, your greater self, because that comes with an understanding that that greater person already exists. I mean, he or she is already there. You just have to discover that person, and then be so the mindset and the routines and the habits and all the stuff that you're doing are about stepping into that person, but they already are there, you know.
Yes.
So I
Yeah.
love that. That's really cool, man. What do you think? Just totally lost my train of thought. I was going to ask you something. I was thinking about five questions at one time. What do you think is the biggest myth, a big myth, common myth within real estate that you can debunk? Within real estate
Ooh,
investing, yeah, a myth.
it's a myth that can be debunked.
Yeah.
Um, ooh,
Tough one.
yeah, I'm trying to. I mean, I guess one that comes to mind is that you can do it with no money. What you can, but
Yeah.
you need money to market. You need money to, even
Sure.
if you're only putting $10 on your contract for escrow, you still need money to put that into escrow.
Yeah.
But I'd say that it's easy and predictable, right?
Okay.
Because most, a lot of the gurus in the space and everything else, it's like we're selling you coaching or courses, but there's not as much emphasis on like systems, right?
Yeah.
Business systems.
Sure.
Like we teach a pie in the sky marketing strategy that can potentially make you 100,000 a month, or
Yeah.
but there's not really as much follow through on what it looks like, and so we paint the picture like it's easy,
Yeah.
which it's not. It's not
Sure.
easy, right? The principles can be simple, but it
Yeah.
takes a lot of hard work and a lot of consistency and follow through to ever reach any pillar of success, right?
Yeah.
That's
I agree 100%. I mean, that's great advice because, and you're right, it is, people do paint it as easy. And you mentioned the word system a few different times, and I really actually love that word too, because to me, what makes a business valuable is the system. I mean, McDonald's is, I mean, it's all these franchises. I mean, it's the system, the method that you use, because just, and that's what's cool about when you are as an individual, why it is good to have a system versus you out there being the only, basically the system, because if you stop working, then you stop bringing in money. But if you own a separate way of doing things that can keep going, whether you're out there working or not, that makes all the
yes,
difference. Now you got a business as opposed
yes,
to just being what, that book, Robert Kiyosaki, the Four Quadrants.
yes.
So it's like,
Cash flow quadrant.
right. So you're not an employee. You can be an employee, or you could be a self-employed. That's what I was thinking. You're just a self-employed person, because if you don't have a system, then
Yep.
if you stop working, you're done. So that's great. So if you were in my shoes, man, you're over here asking the questions. What should I ask that I'm not asking? And what is it that you want people to know that I haven't asked you about yet? Is there anything?
That's good. Um, I would say, I mean, my best piece of advice to a newer person getting started would be focus on one thing,
Hmm.
right? Focus on one thing and
Okay.
become an expert at that. Instead of trying to tackle all the latest and greatest marketing techniques,
Yeah.
right? Like early on in my venture, you know, cold calling wasn't quite as like big of a thing as it is now, but I took
Yeah.
on cold calling and
Okay.
PPC and then Facebook ads and all these different marketing, direct mail,
Sure.
right? And I went all in on all these different areas. But as a result, I didn't accomplish that much early on
Okay.
because I didn't have a laser sharp focus, right? So my best advice would be to focus on one thing, right? And become a master, become an expert at that.
Yeah.
Once you've mastered it, you can hand it off to somebody else and then build your next pillar, right?
Nice.
Don't get
Nice.
analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
I think that's a big piece.
That's huge.
Yeah, and just, man, focus on your network.
Okay.
Focus on building solid relationships, right? Get your inner circle, protect your space.
Yeah.
Get rid of crabs and, crabby people that drain
Yeah.
your energy and complain and gossip and bicker about life. Get rid of that, right? Get rid of the distractions, get rid of the noise. Sometimes it might be family, right? I'm not
Yes.
saying get rid of them, but just
Yeah.
learn to protect your space, because your space and your focus
Yeah.
side of this vehicle of time that's very limited, you got to learn how to protect it, because you're going to come out with your greatest ideas, your greatest inventions. You're going to implement the best business strategies
Yeah.
when you are focused, right? But the biggest enemy of this generation is we're distracted by this.
Oh man. Yeah. You're right.
Look, it actually says it on my phone. Feed your
Feed
focus.
your focus. Yeah. You're absolutely right. You're
Feed your
absolutely
focus,
right.
man.
Yeah.
Or else you let the whole world become the noise, right? And you're always in a reactive state.
Yeah.
Instead of being able to control the tempo of your day, being the thermometer, right?
Yeah.
And being proactive at how you approach the day and how you look at problems.
Yeah.
If you're always just chasing likes and anything else, and you're adhering to other people's agendas, you're always going to be reacting to the world around you,
Yeah.
and you're not going to build anything of significance.
I love that, man. That's great advice. So what about actually I've got one more question for you. Before I ask that question, how can people get a hold of you if they want to reach out to you online? What's the best way to connect with you?
Good question. We try to be omnipresent, right? So we
Of
try to
course.
stay on all
Yeah,
the
everywhere.
social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. But best place to contact me
Yeah.
would probably reach out to me or the team on Facebook, right?
Okay.
Facebook Messenger, or just benlovro.com, right?
Okay.
Go to my website and you can learn more about getting in contact.
Okay, cool. So here's the last question, man. So the name of this podcast is Unstoppable REI. Okay. So the idea is that if you Google the term real estate investor failure rate, you'll see that 95% of real estate investors fail. Okay, it's a huge number. And sometimes people don't believe me when I say that, but if you Google it, boom, that's one of the first results. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk to people that are in the top 5% to find out what are you doing to achieve success in an industry that has such a huge failure rate. So it's a two-part question for you. First, I want to know your definition of the word unstoppable, what that means to you. And then I'd like to know what you do to make yourself unstoppable where failure is concerned in this industry.
All right. What does unstoppable mean to me?
Yeah.
Unstoppable to me is it's a driving force, right?
Like yes.
But it's also a mindset and a belief, meaning nothing in this world is completely unstoppable, right?
Okay.
But going back to the quote that I touched on earlier, nothing can stop a person that believes in, themselves and the power of their mission.
Yeah.
So I feel like to be unstoppable, it comes down to commitment, right? Like you got to commit to yourself. You got to commit to self-development. You got to put in the reps, put in the work. You got to work the ground game, get the systems in place, right? Back to systems.
Yeah.
And you got to build the momentum in order to have that type of power and force behind you that in the world's eyes, people might view you as unstoppable, right?
Yeah.
I think unstoppable, again, it comes down to belief.
Yeah.
If you believe that you're unstoppable, then there's nothing in this world that's going to keep you from accomplishing that ultimate goal, right?
Nice.
There might be failures and roadblocks along the way, but what separates successful people from everyone else? Well, one, successful people ask better questions and as a result find better answers. But two, successful people realize that failure is just a pathway to growth. So every failure they look at as a lesson, and they use those lessons to compound, and they keep on getting up, right? You fall down 7 times, stand up 8, keep on moving. As long as you keep on moving forward, you're unstoppable.
Wow. So how are you applying that in your life, man? Is that what you do? Those are things that you do?
I would say yes. I can't say it's always
Oh, sure.
sunshine and rainbows,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
especially in this season, man, where, a lot of people know us because I work with, all these big institutions and hedge funds, and we've sold to some of the biggest buyers across the nation. Um, and when we were in unicorn season, I call it
Yeah,
unicorn season, where, we're just printing money like it's going out of style. And these hedge funds were paying so much for houses. Well,
yeah.
we built a system on that where we help
Mm,
other investors sell deals for more, right?
yeah.
And we're still doing that. We still have the system, hedgefundpartnership.com. That's where people can check out the buy box and get plugged in. But man, when the market shifted, that whole model shifted with it.
Okay.
And so, we've just been in a season of pivot. I'm calling it
Gotcha.
mastering the pivot. And we're really figuring out where we need to shift our focus. And it's
Okay.
forced us into bigger deals, right?
Yeah.
Now we're moving towards multifamily and big raw land acquisitions that could work for development stuff, right? We still do
Nice.
single family stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
but I feel like it was kind of just that still small inner voice, man, was just like pushing us on, saying, "Hey,
Yeah.
time to think bigger."
Man, I'm super okay. I'm getting all mixed up. I'm enjoying talking to you. I mean, you're saying a lot of really often a lot of great advice. And I love the words that you're using, pivoting and systems and mindset. And so and like you said, you could be heading in one direction, but you gotta be ready to shift. Boom. You know what I
Have
mean?
to.
Yeah. And I
Like
think
that.
your ability to shift and understand that it's really not about so it's having a reason why. I think you mentioned having a goal, having a focus, and then figuring out, okay, what steps do I need to take to get to my why, but that how to get there may change,
Oh yeah.
but you
Yeah.
still focus on the same thing though. I mean, so it's still
In
like,
a
okay, so
second,
yeah,
in a day,
and you
everything
gotta be
can
ready,
change.
you gotta be ready for that. So I read a good book. I'll close with this. There's a really good book that I read. It's called Zen, the art of happiness by Chris Prentice. And what's really cool about that is that it says that, and my wife and I have often believed, and we say one another, that everything happens for us and not to us. And that's sort of been our belief. But this book goes a step further, and they say that everything that happens to you is the best possible thing that could happen to you. So it's like the belief, the mindset again, that so I'm headed toward this goal. Total system shifts, laws change, whatever happens, fine.
Yeah.
That's what's supposed to happen to drive me over here now. So, and like you said, now you're maybe you're selling bigger deals, maybe it's in bigger institutions, and you built a
Yeah.
system on top of it. And there's lessons learned that nobody can take that away from you, man.
Yeah.
That's
That's gold.
valuable.
That's gold.
Yeah, yeah. So, hey, dude, I appreciate your time. I know you're a super busy guy. Your name is everywhere in terms of your syndication stuff, man. I mean, it's fantastic. I'm glad that I had opportunity to get to know you, but I don't want this to be the last time, so we're gonna have to hook up again, man.
Let's
Where
do
what
it.
part of the town are you in? What part of the United States?
I'm in Columbia, South Carolina.
Oh, okay, is it warm there, man? It's warm, right?
It's warm most of the year. We
Let's
got a
see.
little cold front this week. Like
Did
I
you?
think it went below 32 degrees. It was like 31 degrees last
Okay,
night. So it got cold,
that is
but
cool.
technically the winters are usually much warmer than most of
Okay.
the United States.
So during the winter time, is it typically 30s and 40s, or does it get higher than that during the winter time?
I'd say, I mean, it gets down that low,
But
but
not typical.
it's rare that it stays below freezing, right? Like
Okay.
I'd say it maybe 40 to 50s on
Okay.
average.
Because
You might even have some 60s, like
okay,
it's
which is cool during the winter. So in
yeah.
Minnesota, we don't get no 60s in the winter. That's where I'm at, Minnesota.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm always, when anybody says they're in someplace warmer, I'm like tuned in because my wife and I sort of hovering above empty nester right now. And so we're
Yeah.
like looking for the warm climate. So yeah, we'll have to maybe check that out. But yeah, but thanks, man, for the time. Let's do it again soon. Oh, you know what, real quick. I know you've got some you want to talk about any Black Friday stuff that you're working on right now, or you want to
I'd
hear?
love to.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah.
Depending on when people are watching the episode,
Yeah.
obviously, right?
Sure.
We are doing a massive Black Friday sale where we're offering every single course that we've ever created,
Okay.
right? Over $10,000 worth of value for $497. All right. So
Wow.
$500 and you can get all these different training courses. You also get access to our community that we do live mastermind calls once a week. Lifetime access to, all the training products that we have. So that's kind of like the blowout thing that we're doing for Black Friday. If you're watching this episode after the fact,
Yeah.
I'm sure Rufus will have a link in the description.
Yeah.
Investorsyndicate.org.
Okay.
We got courses listed on there that you can check out and see everything
Okay.
that our community has to offer.
Cool, man. Well, if you do me a favor, shoot me over a link with those things on there, then I'll throw it in the comments. And then yeah, if people are watching during the time, cool. But any time of the year, I know you've got tons of stuff happening. So again, thanks for the time. Let's do it again real soon, and have a great weekend, my friend.
Sounds good, my bro. I
Okay.
appreciate you,
All
man.
right. Thanks, man. Talk to you soon.
Bet.
All right, bye.